is recording. So feel free to answer this first question. Just select all that apply. Obviously, UCDC isn't an experience abroad, but it is a cool experience. So sub with that for experiential learning. And I'll wait for you all to finish up sharing the poll. All right, just a few more seconds. And so it seems like most of you want to connect with your professional goals. You want to experience something outside of where you're coming from, and you want to do it safely in the time of COVID. We can address all of these concerns in this program. So far, we've even been doing a virtual program this semester, and then next, as well as future quarters through the spring as well. And we can talk a little bit more about that. So now to start our presentation. Sharing my screen now. So UCDC is an experiential learning opportunity for all students. So this is a program in the Washington, D.C. That allows students to continue their studies and gain valuable on-the-job experience for all open to all majors in DC. There you can take classes and learn from industry professionals, as well as intern with all sorts of organizations. You can intern in Congress. You see a student with AOC. There are museums. You can do even medical and science internships. We have students intern with the NIH and learn all sorts of things. And now I'm going to pass it to Chantal, my colleague, who will talk to you about interning with UCDC.
So hello, everyone, and welcome. So with an internship through the UCDC program, you really have the opportunity to explore various different industry fields. You might have different interests based on your major, but you may also be thinking about other possibilities such as law or a career in public service. For example, Shay mentioned Congress. There are many opportunities in Washington, D.C. and vast opportunities to just, let loose and to do something that you have not done before. This is what's so exciting about the program. It's also a way for you to be able to acquire professional skills and experience. Internship opportunities. You can build upon what you have, or you can start with the UCDC program. And it's also a chance for you to learn about yourself, what you like, what you least like, but more importantly, what are those things that really spark the interest in you to keep going. And as Shay mentioned, it's available for all majors. We work with juniors and seniors. And we have a UCDC internship database that features over 1,000 employers in the greater DC area. And it's this is for all industries. It's really exciting because you can, as soon as you're accepted into the program, you're able to access this database and just start exploring possibilities with all kinds of organizations, small, large, federal agencies, Congress, media companies and organizations, NGOs, international type organizations, think tanks, research. The list is really vast. And our name is really well known in the city. We are one of the largest and most successful internship programs in the city, and employers have come to rely on the talent and the diverse pool of applicants through UCDC. And just so that you know, you're probably wondering how many students participate in 1 year. And of course, during the pandemic, it's gone down a little bit, but typically in 1 year's time, we have over 700 students who participate in the program. So you can see how big the program is and the impact that we make on the community. Once you apply and you are accepted through your campus, you will work with one of our partners on campus throughout the onboarding process. But as part of that, you would also work with our staff in Washington, D.C. We have an academic internship team, which is composed of 4 staff members. And we work very, very closely with each participant to prepare for the experience and to navigate the internship search process. And this would include, you know, preparing a resume, a cover letter, other application materials, preparing for interviews, how to speak with employers and accept an offer. And we continued this work throughout your experience in DC. Our database is also a tool for us to monitor your experience. So we collect evaluations just to see how things are going and to be able to assist you with any questions. And our employers also do the same. They submit feedback because this is a learning opportunity so that you can comfortably learn about yourself, the things that you really enjoy, and, you know, keep building your skill set as you go. Next slide. And so here, just as an example, just to give you an idea, these are the numbers from fall 2019. We had 197 participants in the program from both quarter and semester campuses. And you can see the level of participation from students in all these industries that we mentioned all along. And so you'll see that the first category, advocacy organizations, which we also called nonprofits, had the largest amount of participants, followed with Congress, and then followed by federal agencies, think tanks, and political consulting. But these numbers kind of vary throughout the year. But we usually see that the nonprofit category as well as Congress are the top 2 industries. So as Shay mentioned at the beginning, we have shifted to a remote program. And this fall, we have 68 students that are participating completely remotely. It's been very, very successful. We have seen, I would say that a large number of our participants this fall are also in the nonprofit field. Congress has reduced dramatically since many of the offices are not taking interns, or they've kind of shifted their operations. But we are very, very encouraged by their progress. Actually, we're thrilled with their progress and their adaptability to this time that we are in. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Chantal. Up next is academics with Professor Jennifer Diastro.
Hi there, everybody. I'm so glad that you could join us today. I have the pleasure of saying a few things about our academics in this program. UCDC is an academic internship program. We lead with internships because that's what everybody wants to come to DC for, and we're overjoyed about that. But because it's an academic internship program, you are required to take classes while you're here too. So students participating in our program are enrolled as full-time students. Everyone gets academic credit for their internship, their seminar, and their elective if they take one. The academic credits for each of those parts of that triumvirate are different depending upon the program or the campus that you're from. So you'll want to check with your campus advisors for that. And I think the last slide we have at the end of the program includes the contact information for those folks. So our classes are a combination of seminars and electives. All students are required to take a seminar. They're free to choose the seminar that best suits their internship or their interests, just more generally, when possible. So, you know, you can align one of our seminars that we offer with the sets of internships, for example, that Chantal just mentioned before. So we try to offer a range of classes so students have choices. Because you're required, and there's a lot of ways of thinking about how to connect the work you do in class with the work that you're doing outside of class. Electives are elective for most students. Semester students are required to take an elective because they need more credit hours than quarter students do. For quarter students, the elective courses that we offer for the 10-week session are optional, but we do have usually 30 or 40% of our quarter students taking those classes, sometimes for credit that they need, or sometimes they see a class that they're just interested in. They want to take it because they can't get it on campus. And so we're happy to provide those classes as well. Next slide, please. We have a range of instructors who are experts in their fields, and most of them have taught for us for quite some time. They just love teaching in the UCDC program. They bring the work that they do in the field into the classroom, which is what makes one of the things that makes our classes so amazing. Our courses are small. The word seminar means seminar. It's small. In our remote program, some of our classes are capped really small, between 14 and 20, depending upon the number of students we have. In a in-person environment, we cap our classes at 25. So you get to build close relationships with your instructors, but also importantly, you get to build close relationships with your classmates as well, which is terrific. You're in your classes with students from all the other campuses. It's a great opportunity to make lots of different kinds of friends and connections that you wouldn't otherwise have. Building these close relationships, especially with your instructors, can come really in handy for letters of recommendation. I write at least a handful of recommendations every term, sometimes for students going back many, many years as they have taken time to figure out what they want to do, and sometimes for just the previous term as well. So it's a pleasure to write those letters. It's really great because I get to know my students in ways that I wouldn't on campus. So below you can see some examples of our course titles. Taught by a variety of our people who are experts in those fields that you see listed there. And I will put up the link to our class list, our current class list at least. It does change over time, but our current class list, so you can take a closer look at professor bios and some sample syllabi as well. And thank you. Please throw your questions into chat, or I'll be around at the end of the session to answer questions as well.
Hello, so I'm Debbie. I'm Interim Director of Student Services. Yenna, you're muted.
Hi, I'm Yenna, and I'm the Coordinator of Special Events and Alumni Outreach.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk with you a little about what life will be like for you while in DC, while you're participating in UCDC. It's a time of connections, adventure, and personal discovery. So we're going to start with connections first. This will be a great time for you to build friendships and build your network. So you've heard about your internships from Chantal and your classes from Jennifer. So I'm sure that you figured out, obviously you'll meet and connect with people there, but you may not know that as a UCDC participant, you are required to live in the residential building here in DC, and you will have a roommate and 2 apartment mates. So we have 2-bedroom apartments that 2 people in each bedroom. So that may be a little bit different for some of you who have never lived on campus, or who by the time you come to UCDC will have lived off campus for a year or 2. So that might be a little bit of an adjustment. But while the living arrangements might be a transition, it's a really great opportunity to get to know students from other UC campuses and our partner programs that we also have living in the building. So we have a few other schools that we partner with who where we house our students. We house their students in the building, and you get the privilege of taking classes with their professors. You might also get involved with local organizations, either through your internship, work, or personal interests. And I'll turn it over to Yenna to talk about alumni involvement.
Great. I'll unmute myself this time. So during your time as part of the program, we really try to offer opportunities of engagement with the local alumni community. Our UC alumni groups are quite active and meet regularly to plan social and professional development events. And they always make it a point to extend invitations to students of all UC campuses. On top of those UC club events within our program specifically, we organize a mentorship program in which we connect participants with one UC alum currently in the city, and they offer support from resume building and networking tips. And overall, students have always told us it was such a good opportunity for them to easily expand their network. And we also organize a big networking event each session with the sole purpose of exposing students to different fields. It's one of my favorite events where folks are able to bounce between different tables and speak with alumni and fellow classmates. Next slide, please.
Okay, so adventure. There are so many things you can do in DC, and you'll have the opportunity to explore DC and the East Coast. So one thing that well, there are a few things that are interesting about our location. So our building is just a 15-minute walk from the White House. And it's just 2 blocks, but it's still 15 minutes. And on the way to the White House, you will walk through Black Lives Matter Plaza. So you can kind of see that piece of history as well. We're a 30-minute walk from National Mall, which is where you'll find most of the Smithsonian museums and galleries. And just hang out there and get really awesome pictures of the monument in the Capitol, of Washington Monument in the Capitol. You will have prepaid access to the DC Metro train and bus system, which takes you into parts of Maryland and Virginia as well. So you can explore freely while you're here. And so that means you can check out like all the different professional sporting events, live music venues, public events at your local at our local historic HBCU, Howard University. And you could go to your first gala, you could go to receptions at Capitol Hill. And because DC is so tiny on the East Coast, which has way more states than the West Coast does on that side, you can drive a couple of hours and be in a few different states. So you can go to places like Boston and New York and Philadelphia. And our students do take the train and rent cars to just really explore and really kind of soak up the East Coast, because for many of them, it's the first time they've been over on this side of the country. Next slide.
Great. So I think relocating to any new area, let alone a city, can come with like lots of anxiety and excitement, and a lot goes into the process. And we'll be talking about that specifically later in terms of our UCDC program. But I've been in DC since 2018, and being here has been really great, at least in terms of my own development. So I've discovered new interests and hobbies like running. I think exercise is so much more enjoyable outside when the weather is nice and you get to see monuments along the way. And I've also realized that I hate driving. I grew up in LA, and so it's been really great in DC where I can rely on public transit and walking. And it's so much more quieter and relaxed in DC than New York, and more compact and I think convenient than Los Angeles. So I realized that I love the city, and I think there's so many great ways to get involved even during the short program. DC is such a vibrant community with a large public sector. And when I first came here, I was so excited about all the young professionals group. For example, I wanted to connect with nonprofit orgs and grassroots organizing. So I spent some time as a fellow for Planned Parenthood, as well as get connected to the greater Asian American community here in DC. So you get connected to one person at a networking event and share your interests. And from there, people are so willing to help and connect you with their networks. I think DC draws in so many people from outside the city for protests, and especially this year, I'm sure folks have seen coverage of the thousands of people who called for justice for George Floyd, and organizers painting, defund the police on 16th Street in DC. So there's tons of civic engagement, and I truly believe that folks can really grow in the city, especially for those who would like to get involved in politics or grassroots organizing. Next slide.
So why UCDC? You get to intern in the nation's capital, which is really cool. For some of you, you might be from the East Coast and you've been to DC before, but for some of you who've never been, this is a really great example to intern somewhere new and to put on the resume that you're willing to pick up and move somewhere thousands of miles away for an internship or a new opportunity. That makes you stand apart. You get to learn from experts. Our professors have worked for C-SPAN, various NGOs and nonprofits. So you will be learning from people who are doing the work, as well as brilliant academics. You can network with industry leaders, mentors, and peers. At UCDC, we bring in speakers to come talk to you about what they're doing. And then we have networking nights where we have alumni from UC and UCDC come in and connect with you and talk about how UCDC has helped them in the past and get them to where they are today, working in government, nonprofits, marketing, communications, science, you name it, we've got people. You can build your resume. You'll acquire new skills and work experiences. Have you ever written a memo before? Have you ever worked on a communications plan? You will get to say you've done some of things. You can even build communication skills if you're in Congress, because chances are you will interact with constituents or even give people tours of the Capitol. You'll be an expert of the building. You'll have career development opportunities where you learn how to do professional writing or build your social brand online, or even how to end your internship on a high note. You can explore new interests, industry fields, and occupations through all of these events. When I did an internship in DC, I learned I hated working in government, but I also learned I really liked marketing, and here I am today. And then you can explore life in the nation's capital, history, and travel on the East Coast. And best of all, you get to experience seasons. DC is really great because you get those scorching summers, but you get the beauty of fall where everything is orange and brown and absolutely gorgeous outside. You do get snow. We've had some pretty good snows over the past years where people have been sledding on Capitol Hill, and you get spring with cherry blossom season. So there's really not a bad season to be in DC, and that's really fun and great. So how do you prepare for UCDC? First of all, schedule a meeting or conversation with your academic advisor and determine how to best incorporate UCDC as part of the study plan. So do a lot of forward thinking on what classes you might want to take. In a future slide, we'll talk about who exactly to contact for your UCDC specific campus coordinator, who is your expert on UCDC on campus. Think about what type of internship experience and skills do you want to gain. For example, if you're a marketing person, what kind of marketing do you want internships? Digital marketing, social media, print, graphic design, all sorts of things. And that's just one little scope. Make use of your career center resources. They can help you put together a resume and even do practice interviews, which are very helpful when preparing for your internship interview to help you stand out. Connect with your home campus basic needs program and financial aid office to help develop a financial plan, get enrolled in resources, figure out what you need and how to best tailor that for you yourself. And then begin saving money or gift cards for UCDC related expenses. You want to go to New York, start a weekend in New York fund. Some internships will require professional clothing, suitcases, entertainment, whether you want to go to networking nights that have nothing to do with UCDC, go to the wharf, get some good food, go to 14th Street, hear a concert at the 930 Club, all sorts of things. So these are a few ways to prepare for UCDC, and then you can always email us on our website at ucdc.edu. And now Chantal will talk to you about campus contact info.
So we hope that this presentation and all of the features that we've shared about the program has really sparked an interest in you wanting to be a part of it, and especially to apply. And so here you have, take a moment to locate your campus and web link, and we really encourage you to connect with our campus partners. As Shay mentioned, you know, they are very, very knowledgeable about how to help you incorporate UCDC in your study plan, and they will let you know about the application instructions, deadlines that are coming up, information sessions, etc. And we hope to see you in the future, near future, hopefully.
All right, and this begins the Q&A session of our presentation. I'm going to start off. I know some of your questions already, but I also want to ask Ashley, who is a student online, to describe her UCDC experience a bit and how that's helped her so far as a student or in her career.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Oh, so much. Let's see. I participated in the UCDC CAP Quarter and UC program in fall 2019, and I interned at the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. What really helped me become who I am today, especially after the internship and the UCDC experience, is the internship experience itself, of course, and especially and I think it was the people that I met throughout the program that really helped me tremendously. All the staffs of the program, Debbie, Chantal, and the professors, everyone is so willing and nice to help us become successful interns, individuals, and professionals. So that was really heartwarming for me, especially being away from home, and they really formed a home away from home for you. So it was really just comforting to know that there's like a support system that I'm jumping into such far away from California where I lived. And yeah, and internship experience was so helpful for me. I did a couple of political office position internships before going into UCDC program, but it was vastly different in so many ways. You're so much more hands-on and engaged, and I got to participate in so many different programs outside of my own internship itself, just by being in the DC area. So yeah, it was incredible, and it was one of the best experiences that really helped me grow as a person, both personally and professionally.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen if it will let me. There we go. And just so you can see our faces and see exactly who you're talking to. So to help answer some of your questions, yes, this will be recorded. We'll have the program creators who put all of this together. We'll have the links available to you. And if I'm a junior, here's one question. If I'm a junior and I reply to the remote program this year, would I be able to apply again if the program resumes in-person activities for the next year? That
I think I don't know if Chantal or Jennifer should or want to answer, but I think it depends on your campus. I think some campuses allow you to do multiple terms and other campuses don't. So this would be a great time for you to contact your home campus coordinator to see what the rules are for your campus.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And Chantal, here's a question for you. We have electrical and computer engineers. What have electrical and computer engineering majors worked on in the past? Do we have any examples of students with those majors who've interned in DC?
So we have had students from the sciences participate, and we have been able to help them find internships. For example, in public policy, science public policy. So for example, with the Association of Advancement of Science, I'm probably not saying it right. It's, I know the acronym AAAS would be for an example of an organization that whose focus is science, but you also learn about policy and how policy can impact the profession that you're going in. But there in the DC area, there are so many professional type organizations. And I know that for engineering, I used to work with engineering students at UC Irvine, and I knew all of those acronyms, but it escapes me now. But I know that for example, for electrical and computer engineering, there is a specific professional organization that's located in Northern Virginia. And we have had students work with this organization. We've had students work with the National Science Foundation, with NIH that Shay had mentioned before, which is the National Institutes of Health. And even though it has the word health, they also do employ engineers and have engineering internships. So there are many possibilities. I know that the program usually appeals more to students who are from political science and the social sciences, but it is definitely possible for STEM and science students to participate, even participating, for example, assisting professors with lab research in one of the institutions of higher education in Washington, DC. We've also had students do that. So definitely consider us if you are from that major or from the STEMs.
I would add, let me just add a couple things to Chantal's points. I have had 2 students in my general research seminar in the past 2 or 3 years who were biology majors, I think both of them. I'm probably not being as specific or precise as I could be, but some subfield of biology. One of whom worked, and this just killed me, in the panda exhibit at the Smithsonian Zoo, watching the mating habits of pandas, which, you know, as an aside, is not necessarily the most interesting part of pandas, but it was really cool. She wrote a great paper and it was really fabulous. And she had a great experience there, obviously one of a once in a lifetime kind of experience. And another student of mine worked at the National Institutes of Health and ended up being a co-PI on a principal and co-principal investigator on a grant project there. So she even traveled a little bit and presented some of their research findings. So again, like Chantal said, we don't always get a lot of STEM students for reasons that have more to do with the series of courses that you need to take on campuses, which makes it hard for you to take a break and come to UCDC. But if you are able to do that, we welcome you with open arms. And there's certainly lots of opportunities in the city for science-based internships.
Awesome. We have a question from Katerina. She says, I'm a transfer student and would really like to do both UCDC and UCEAP. Is this a realistic goal if I did this, say this summer and then next summer respectively?
So we have a lot of students who do both programs. And this would actually be a very good question as well for your UCDC person on your campus, so that they can advise you along with your academic advisor. But we find that a lot of the students who are attracted to UCDC are also wonderful candidates for UCEAP and vice versa, and also including UC Sacramento. Often it happens at sometimes, I don't want to say often, but it does happen that we actually work with students who have done all 3 programs. So UCEAP, UC Sacramento, and UCDC. And that's just really, really wonderful. You're able to absorb so much, so many experiences, so many connections, so many skills, and we really encourage it.
Yeah, I can share a bit about my experience. I'm also a transfer student and I participated, not UCEAP, but UC Sacramento and I did UCDC program twice, and I also did a program in New York. So it's definitely feasible if you do plan ahead and speak with your advisor to make sure you will get through all your coursework and requirements on time. But it was definitely such a valuable experience for me, and I would definitely love to encourage more students and transfer students to participate in these programs away from home campus.
Thanks, Ashley. That actually sets up a great question about planning ahead. Kate wants to know, I am a freshman and I met with my academic advisor to plan out when I should apply for UCDC. What internships or opportunities do you recommend for future applicants to explore their interests prior to the start of the program?
So I can, Ashley, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience about planning for UCDC?
Absolutely. I spoke with the UCDC representative at UCLA, and she helped me so much to learn about what it would look like academically, professionally, once I do participate in the program, as well as my academic goals, reaching those goals. And I made sure to meet with both my career counselors as well as my academic counselors to make sure that I will have a good experience interning in DC, but also be able to finish my coursework. And as I've mentioned before, as a transfer student, I also had that little bit of feeling of rush to get everything done in 2 years and make sure that I graduate on time. So it was really helpful for me to speak with the academic advisor from AAP, scholars program, and various programs on campus that I was meeting with, and they ensure that I'll be okay. And they comforted me saying that UCDC program offers the academic courseworks that I can take in as part of my credit for my major in political science. So that was definitely helpful. And so making sure that those coursework will count towards your requirements, graduation requirement would be really, yeah, it was really valuable for me. So absolutely speak with your advisors, mentors on campus who know what you have been doing, your coursework, and you will have like a clearer understanding of what you will have once you participate and complete your participation at UCDC program.
Thank you. That was perfect.
Does anyone have any other questions? We still have a few more minutes. If you have anything you want to ask, if you want any anecdotes from Ashley about her experience being an intern and doing so many awesome things over her course of time as a student. So I'll give you a few moments to do that. We have
I have a question actually for Ashley. Sorry to make you talk so much, but I know that you also participated in our remote program this summer, and I just wanted to see, if you had any insights. Obviously all of us had to adjust very quickly and shift to remote, but maybe some of the highlights and some of the challenges as part of your remote experience versus your in-person experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love to share my experience, so no need to apologize at all. I participating in the remote UCDC program. I can start with what was challenging at first because it was really like, it stood out to me, especially I kind of went through that after experiencing it in person. So one of the main challenges for me was time management and knowing when to stop when I'm interning, because there is this lack of like physical like time and schedule. I found myself just working from morning to like 6 and 7 p.m. And so that was a little bit challenging, and the time difference, because I'm located in Los Angeles and my internship was based in DC, I had to find that adjustment, especially with meeting with people, conferences and whatnot. So that was a little bit challenging, but it was really valuable to have the virtual experience because I got to speak with so many different people across around United States as well as in different countries at an international level. So I interned at USAID Office of Education. So the organization itself was very international and connecting people from all around the world. So having that flexibility and with everyone now being so professional navigating through Zoom, it was wonderful to speak with people in I remember speaking with a USAID officer in, I believe, Gambia, and she shared her experience of uh, the research that she was doing there. So it was really helpful for me to be well versed in navigating Zoom as well as time managing there. And one of the things that I noticed unchanging from in-person to virtual was the professional development that you can build. So I was still able to have a virtual coffee with people in my office with the other interns as well. So it was really awesome for me to see that consistency.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. It's really cool that you got to experience both the in-person internships, but also virtual internships as well. That's a great skill set to have. Before we all end the session, we have a second poll question that we'd like to ask. So after the session, are you less likely, neutral, or more likely to want to learn about UCDC? And did this session answer all of your questions? And if not, please email us at internship@ucdc.edu.
Yeah, and I would also like to offer, if you have any questions that you want to ask, I can drop my email in the chat box so you can reach out to me.
And thank you so much for your responses. So does anyone have any last second questions? If not, we can just close the session a little bit early. I know I want to be valuable of all your time, especially in this online virtual environment. And Ashley dropped in her chat, so email, so get that. All right, I don't think we have any more questions, but thank you all so much for attending and have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.